Today we're going to talk about two SEC East schools who are in very similar situations as far as the school goes and the team goes and the quarterback room in general. So we're going to talk about Tennessee and South Carolina. We're going to compare the two quarterback rooms and kind of discuss what room we would rather have and why. And it's pretty close in my opinion for several different reasons. But before we jump into all these reasons and compare the quarterback rooms and the quarterbacks on the roster, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to our YouTube channel if you like any quarterback related content, whether it's just fun stuff like this, comparing quarterback rooms or film breakdowns, which is what we usually do, but we're taking a quick break before the season gets closer, and then we'll get back to the film breakdown. So whatever it may be, any quarterback content is fair game here. But let's get back to the schools that play. So very similar for a few reasons. One, they don't have a returning starting quarterback. They've had several guys move on from the programs, and they were both very poor last year, to be nice about it. And they have new coaches. So Tennessee was 3-7, South Carolina was 2-8. Tennessee bringing in Josh Heupel from UCF, of course, and South Carolina bringing in Coach Beamer from Oklahoma. And so I want to kind of jump into the quarterback rooms and just discuss the options that each have and then compare the options that they have and kind of discuss what quarterback you would rather have and why. So let's dive into the Tennessee room first, just because there are a lot more moving parts going on in that room than in the South Carolina room. So we had Jarrett Garantano, who was the majority or the starting quarterback for the past few years, off and on, but he was the main guy. He has transferred to Washington State. J.T. Strout has transferred to Colorado. Caden Salter was is no longer on the team. He was the incoming true freshman recruit. It was announced this week or last week that he's no longer on the team. So already like bunch of shifting going on. Not to mention we have two incoming transfers. One's already here. One was competed in spring, and then one is joining in the summer. If he's either already joined or he is joining this summer. So we got Hendon Hooker from Virginia Tech, Joe Milton from Michigan, and then of course we are returning Brian Maurer and Harrison Bailey that were on this team the past few years. So we got basically four different options of who's going to be the starting quarterback. So let's talk about Hendon Hooker first, who I think is probably the favorite for the simple fact he's had the most success. The transfer from Virginia Tech. And I think Josh Heupel, regardless who wins the quarterback position, I think he'll be able to have a good quarterback just because of the system, and it's a quarterback-friendly system. So I think we'll see some success at the quarterback position. But let's talk about Hendon Hooker, who had 37 total touchdowns starting for Virginia Tech the past two seasons, only 7 interceptions, and we saw him do a lot of things good with his legs as well as his arm. He has a good ability to throw the ball downfield. He can use his legs to get out of trouble as well. So Josh Heupel's offense doesn't use the quarterback's legs often, but I imagine if Hendon Hooker is the guy, they would use his legs more often than not. And also, he took care of the ball, only 7 interceptions. So, of course, playing in the SEC, taking care of the ball would be huge. Next, let's talk about Joe Milton, who has a decent amount of experience as well, starting for Michigan last year, the first 5 or so games before he was replaced by Cade McNamara. He had 5 total touchdowns and 4 interceptions, just a little over 1,000 yards passing. Big time arm, guy that can rip it from the pocket. He can fit Heupel's offense, perfectly if he reached full potential. So it says, can he get to full potential? And can Josh Heupel get him to full potential? Big time arm, good option there transferring in. Then we got Harrison Bailey, who was a freshman last year, had a really good spring game, and same with Brian Maurer. He had a really good spring game as well. Brian Maurer didn't get as much playing time in 2020, but had some playing time in 2019. Two touchdowns and 5 interceptions in 2019. Did a few good things well. Good arm, can move his legs. And Harrison Bailey had some playing time last year as well. Let's see, he had 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions last year and looked good in the spring game. So you have some decent options at the quarterback position, but Josh Heupel being a former quarterback himself, and showing that his offense can have some success pushing the ball downfield. I think the quarterback room could be an underrated room if they maximize potential. So I think Hooker's probably the guy moving forward. Could be completely wrong. That's just pure speculation based off his past experience and past play. But I think they're in a decent situation at the quarterback position. Let's go on to South Carolina. They are losing starting quarterback Colin Hill, who didn't start the last few games, but he was he started the majority of the games last year. The transfer from Colorado State, more of a typical pro style guy, gonna sit in the pocket, has a good arm, can really rip it. But then Luke Doughty, he was named the starting quarterback after the spring game and started the last few games last year for South Carolina. Very good athlete, was even playing some receiver for South Carolina, just because he wanted to get on the field. So started the last 3 games, I believe, for South Carolina, had 2 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You saw some glimpses there, and I don't know if it was so much the offense didn't mesh well or what it was, but I think we're going to see Luke Doughty do some really good things this year in 2021 for South Carolina. He's a dynamic athlete, can really use his legs. So when the play breaks down, he can use it, or he's a very good quarterback to be used in a designed quarterback run. And then he also can push the ball downfield. You want to see some improvement from him from throwing, but I think this offense that Beamer is bringing in will help Doughty. So we have Doughty as starting quarterback for now, but things could change, right? Next, we have Jason Brown, who was brought in from St. Francis at FCS school. They didn't have a season in 2020. But in 2019, here's his stats. We got him right here. He had 29 total touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, and over 3,000 yards passing. One of the better quarterbacks in all of FCS in 2019. Has a good arm, can throw from multiple different arm slots, can throw off balance, or can throw on rhythm. And so I've actually put out several videos of Brown, Doughty, and the Tennessee quarterbacks too, that you can go kind of watch a more in detailed breakdown and kind of see what each quarterback does well. So if you are interested in that, just go back and watch those videos. Quick plug. So we got Jason Brown, the transfer from St. Francis, who can throw the ball, and if things happen and he becomes a starting quarterback, I think South Carolina can still be in a good position. Next, we got Colton Gather, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He's a good young freshman. A lot of potential ahead. Don't know if he has a big shot this year to start, but he's got a lot of potential to develop and be a good quarterback down the road. Really like him a lot. So the question is, what quarterback room would you rather have? Would you rather have the Tennessee room that has a bunch of guys who each has started and some have started, for seasons at a time, or would you rather have the South Carolina room who has still some experience with Doughty starting last 3 games and Jason Brown starting for St. Francis, even though it's at a lower level? So I think right now, for the simple fact that Tennessee has Josh Heupel in that offense, I kind of trust Tennessee's quarterbacks to put up some decent numbers and to have a pretty decent season and have some good play. So I would probably go with the Tennessee quarterback room for the simple fact for that offense and Josh Heupel being there. And I think some of those quarterbacks are pretty talented. They just need help to maximize that potential. At the same time, I do like South Carolina. I just don't have a full grasp of the offense or the understanding about it, and so that's really the only reason why I'm choosing Tennessee over South Carolina as far as the quarterback room goes. I think Doughty can be absolute stud at the quarterback position, and he could be he could take that step and really be a good quarterback in the SEC. So I could be completely wrong here, but I think it's kind of a toss-up in my opinion. It's a very close kind of pick here, but I want to hear from you. I want to hear who you would rather have, whether it be Tennessee, quarterback room, South Carolina, and I want to hear who you think will be the quarterback for Tennessee, and if South Carolina will stick with Doughty the whole year, or if Jason Brown will get some playing time as well. Again, both quarterback rooms I think are underrated with a chance to be pretty good next year, but it's all about maximizing that potential. So again, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time on the next quarterback-related video.